Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So on the agenda tonight we have Richard Benson, and this is one of those videos and guitarists that has been requested quite a lot. So I'm going to be looking at his playing tonight, but also looking at some other elements that I think are important to bring up. But let's get Richard up on screen. Let's have a little listen. I'm just going to jump in here because we kind of get the general idea of what's going on with Richard's playing, and very much all those techniques that look like they're in there in terms of the alternate picking and hammer-ons and pull-offs and that kind of thing, but it just isn't really coming off. And people that watch this channel will know that on my channel I look at all kinds of genres and different guitar players and bands, and I'm not one of these people to jump on the bandwagon of especially slagging off other musicians or guitarists. So I'm not going to do that here because I think there's some really important parts that I have to bring up about this performance, but also about other performances that Richard's done, but also from earlier in his career as well. Of course, with so many requests, there's going to be some guitarists that I haven't heard of before, or at least haven't heard their material before. So I always like to do a little bit of research on every video before I put up my channel so that I can at least get some facts out there and maybe tell people some things that they might not have known about the artist before. And this was exactly the same case here with Richard. And I had a comment on my channel that forwarded another video, which I'm going to put the link to in the description below of this video, so you guys can check that out as well. But it certainly did look at Richard from a really interesting angle. So now, just to put that last performance in context, where he obviously was a lot older, a lot more recent, we're now going to jump back to his heyday, which would have been mid-80s, where he would have been in his mid to late 20s, and obviously the style at the time would have been dive bombs, all the Van Halen tapping, all of that was really in vogue in the 80s. And it's Richard just explaining to the camera in Italian these different guitar techniques that he's using and how to play them. But obviously, having seen the video that we've just seen, we might think that this is going to be a car crash, but let's get it going and see how he gets on. And there we go. So, I mean, nothing like the first video that we saw. So anyone out there who's watching this video will think, well, what's going on? What's happened? Because we've got pretty solid rhythm work there by Richard, especially playing along to a backing track. It's so difficult to play to a backing track, especially when you're really ramped up in volume, and with the amount of overdrive and delay that we've got on here, obviously classic 80s tone here. Another thing, putting in that palm muting on the rhythm to give it a little bit more expression, a little bit more dynamic range. But the most important thing from that for me are those harmonics that he's hitting. the way that he's just working his way down that fretboard. He knows what he's doing here. And then that end dive bomb off that last harmonic, it is just, as it says, guitar tricks, classic 80s guitar tricks, but you can't just suddenly do this. I've just queued it forward, the same video, but now just to analyze a little bit more of Richard's playing.
Un altro gioco che faceva Van Halen, così, una specie, era...
And I'm just gonna jump in here because it's called Guitar Tricks. Obviously he's now doing this siren. You can see here Richard knows what he's doing with these pull-offs to those open strings and just gently touching those strings, so it means that you're getting the harmonics whilst doing those pull-offs, so it gives it a really cool sound. And then just a little bit more of technique from this video before I then move on to another one as well.
L'altro gioco era questo, finale della sezione Guitar Tricks.
And there we go, the way that Richard's throwing his hand around that fretboard, around that neck. You might have seen Michelangelo Batio doing that same thing in some of his videos where his hand's just a blur because it moves so quickly. And again, it's one of those things that once you've got all your techniques up to a certain level, then you start just messing around. And that's exactly what Richard's doing there. This is called Guitar Tricks, so I think it's to be taken with a pinch of salt in terms of the amount of musicality and melody that we're going to have. But even just the technical ability to get that down, to even make that run up the fretboard audible is impressive. You've got to have a lot of dexterity, a lot of just ability in general in order to pull that off. And I've just queued up another video that's going to just highlight Richard's playing in a clean tone, again back in his heyday, but let's get into this and see how he gets on.
Diciamo, gli accordi sono questi.
And there we go. So that's just a little chord progression in there that is super clean. The picking's got to be absolutely spot on in order to get that really nice melodic sound that we're getting. But also the way that the progression goes over the chords in the background, it's just a nice sound. It's not just rubbish writing. It is good, it is melodic, and it's certainly laying the foundation for even more ideas to come up, which we're going to get into. So now he's just going to show the layer that he'll put on top of that rhythm and also get into a little bit of lead work as well. So there we go, a little bit of lead work. And the thing that I want to say about this is it's competent playing. He's just making up his own stuff here, original writing as well. And it's not a case, some people might not like this in terms of just their preference, their opinion, in terms of the musicality of it. But there's nothing in there that at the moment just sounds like he just is picking up a guitar and thrashing away at it like we saw in that first video. And quickly, finally from this video, a little bit more lead work.
Se mi fai gli accordi?
And there it is. So just that legato run at the beginning that he played through, again, you can see that he's got that ability there. There's nothing off timing wise with that. You can rewind it and watch it again because this is all live and it's just going through an amp. We've got some overdrive on there, but it's such a clean sound in terms of being able to hear his technique. I've just queued up another video. This one again is going to be more recent, but it's going to be interesting because this is the same performance, same track that he was just explaining through in that instructional video. So let's hear Richard now play through this. And by the way, he's already been pelted with things from the crowd, so he's got that on his jeans and he's just trying to wipe that off, but he's going to get back into the performance now. I'm just going to jump in here because as you can see, Richard is getting pelted by things from the crowd, and also the way that to the beginning they're shouting out, he's trying to hear that backing, so playing along is going to be a nightmare. But the one thing that you can notice is that Richard has lost his dexterity in his hands, and I'm talking about left hand and right hand here, and that is because of arthritis. Back in the day he didn't have any problems, whereas he did then actually get severe arthritis in his hands, and that is the reason that he now can't play the way that he used to. But of course, people who look at his videos don't look into the history, they don't look into his previous playing or some of the tracks that he's done or albums that he's done to actually listen to what he was like back when he could play properly. So it's a really sad state of affairs, especially when I've seen a video where they're actually throwing eggs at him, but Richard just absolutely continues to play on. The other thing that gets me is that people are throwing eggs in another performance that I saw, and it's kind of dripping off his face, but he just keeps on going. And for me, that is a premeditated act. They know that he's playing that evening. They don't have eggs at venues, so they've been out to buy eggs to then go and take to a venue just to throw at Richard. So the one thing that everybody has lost, or at least it seems like everybody's lost nowadays, is the empathy. Highlighting somebody that's different, and then as a group you all have a laugh at the person who's different. Fine when you're a kid, but when you're in your 20s and then late 20s, and by the time you're 30, you work out how the world works, or at least you should do, so that you can then start to empathize with other human beings and experience what they are feeling, or at least try and experience that. They're just assuming this is some older guy who's just rubbish. But to throw things at another person, try and put yourself in their position, because it's not somewhere you want to be, especially if you're just there by yourself. It must be so debilitating for Richard. And that's another part of the story, that recently Richard has had a very bad back injury, so he has to be helped on stage. But that was from falling off or maybe jumping off a bridge. Some people were saying that he was trying to commit suicide, but that's how he got that injury. So he isn't even mobile now. But the crazy thing is people are still chucking stuff at him, which now poses the question that in order to take that amount of abuse, why does he keep on going? Maybe it is a mental issue where he just keeping on going because he doesn't really understand what's happening. Or the flip side is that he just keeps on going no matter what. He's never going to let anybody put him down or stop him from playing. It's his music, it's his passion. And I always say this on the channel, if you don't like something, don't listen to it. And everyone's got that option. So if you don't like Richard Benson playing, then don't go and watch him. And don't take eggs with you just to throw at him, because he's just a guy like everybody else. He's just as vulnerable. He's got all the same problems. He's probably got more problems than anybody in the audience watching him, to have this arthritis that's so debilitating. Try and think how you would feel if somebody threw an egg in your face while you were trying to play, especially if you're trying to be taken seriously as a musician. It just goes back to that saying of don't judge a book by its cover. And if you are watching a player or a band or something that you don't like, you can voice your opinion about that. I'd say don't even bother, just turn it off and listen to some music that you do like. But if you are going to voice your opinion about another artist, make sure you research them first so that you don't look stupid in the long run, where people say, actually, this guy was pretty good if you watch some of his earlier stuff, and then because of illness, that's why he's ended up how he is in terms of having his ability taken away from him. So I thought I'd do this video just to even the playing field a little bit, because it is all stacked against Richard on YouTube and just on the internet in general. But I'm going to put the link to the 15-minute documentary that I saw on Richard if you guys want to see a little bit more of his story. But thank you so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at. I have taken little bits of other videos for a comparison, but I hope you've enjoyed this one. If you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys at the next one. Rock.